Welcome everybody to the launch of the Digital Financial Literacy Survey portal. My name is Sean Hunter. I'm an economist with the Griffith Asia Institute, which is part of Griffith University in Australia. So it's my privilege to be the MC for today's webinar, and equally it's been our privilege to collaborate with the UN team on the development of this portal over the last several months. And while it's been our great experience to work with such a rich and comprehensive data set, we're even more honored to have been able to contribute to this process of making this information publicly accessible. So opening up this resource represents what we believe is quite a meaningful step towards supporting more informed, data-driven development, planning, and policy across the Pacific region. And we truly hope that the portal will become a valuable tool, not just for stakeholders in the Pacific, but for the global community as well, as we all continue our work to advance sustainable and inclusive development. So I'll just briefly explain the agenda for today. So we'll first hear from the UNCDF, Zaituna here, who will provide a bit more background about the program, particularly the Pacific Digital Economy Program of the United Nations. We'll then hear some brief opening remarks from some of the program's core partners and whose continued support have really been instrumental in making the portal a reality. And then from there, I'll hand over to my colleague at Griffith University, who's going to provide a live demonstration of the data portal. And at that time, we'll also share a link so that everybody on the webinar can access the portal themselves. And then we'll complete the webinar today with an opportunity for everybody to engage with the portal and then also ask any questions that you may have as you explore it for yourself. So without further ado, I'm happy to hand over now to my colleague Zaituna Mustafa, who's the Fiji country coordinator for UNCDF. Zaituna, over to you.
Thank you, Sean. It's an honor to be here. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening from wherever you're joining us. I think for me, it's an easy task because I'm coming in to introduce very distinguished guests who have given us their time today to open this webinar. But before I do that, it will be great to first of all talk about a little bit about the background. So first of all, welcome all our participants and also our panelists. This webinar is actually being hosted by two flagship initiatives, not only Pacific Digital Economy Program, but another program called Digital Financial Services for Resilience, which covers Africa, Caribbean, and the Pacific. The two programs jointly came together to support this initiative. Of course, we also extend, if you've seen the e-invite of this webinar, there are also other donors that are involved. So we send our thanks to our donors like Organization of Africa, Caribbean, and the Pacific states, the European Union, New Zealand, and Australia. For me, I think while I'm opening and introducing the high-level speakers, I wanted to just reflect on about two things. One is, first of all, this work did not begin today. The Digital Financial Literacy Survey portal is an addition to a bigger piece of work that started in 2022-2023. As many of you know, for example, disaggregated data, especially on digital and financial literacy, has been a missing piece in our digital transformation puzzle. So, and this data is, of course, very critical. Policymakers, regulators, financial service providers, and development partners need these robust insights to be able to design, deliver, and also even track interventions they are working on. And we very much know the great things that is happening across the Pacific. In response to this, so UNCDF, UNDP, and Tebut Research started this partnership back in 2022, spilling over to 2023, where we conducted the first ever digital financial literacy baseline survey across 7 Pacific Island countries: Fiji, Samoa, Tonga, Vanuatu, Timor-Leste, PNG, and Solomon Islands. Of course, we did not stop there. This research is on our public domain, and it's being consumed. However, we thought that why not create a one-stop shop? And this was not a small task. So we onboarded Griffith University data team to work with us to actually put data that has come out of these 7 countries, 10,108 respondents, 53% of these being female and 47% being male, and 14 key data points and data indicators. We generated a whopping 141,512 unique data points. So a rich and unprecedented data sets that forms the foundation of this portal that we will launch today. This portal is more than just a dashboard that is being hosted on UNDP website. It is a living, interactive digital public good created to inform evidence-based decisions, whether you are crafting national policies, tailoring inclusive finance product, designing behavior change amongst the last mile customers. So I'm honored to introduce the distinguished high-level guest, starting with a senior member in the Pacific, Ms. Tuya Altran-Grell. Tuya is the UNDP resident rep for the Pacific. Ms. Tuya brings passion for international development, human rights, and environmental justice as the UNDP res rep for 10 Pacific Island countries. Actually, the 7 I've talked about, most of them Tuya covers and beyond. And she focuses on effective governance, inclusive growth, sustainable development, and climate change. Her remarks will underscore the role of digital literacy in empowering communities and achieving sustainable development goals across the region. Tuya believes in the butterfly effect, that small intentional actions can ripple outward and transform systems. The second speaker after Tuya is Ms. Caroline Wagabatha, Chief Manager, Financial Systems Development for the Reserve Bank of Fiji. Caroline will give us a perspective of development and implementing partners and national partners that UN works with. She's a veteran of the Reserve Bank. Caroline brings a decade of experience in financial systems development. She's worked even in the economics department, so she brings economics policy as well. And as the chief manager, she's actually spearheads the secretariat that implements the National Financial Inclusion Strategy. Her insights will empower the importance of data in informing sound policy making and regulatory frameworks. Thirdly, we also wanted to hear from our development partners, and today will be represented by Mr. Anthony Brand, MSME expert for Organization for Africa, Caribbean, and the Pacific States. Anthony brings with him deep experience in donor-funded MSME initiative and private sector development. Mr. Brand will speak on behalf of the donor community, highlighting the strategic importance of data-driven intervention to strengthen digital and financial ecosystem in the Pacific. So I think with those, we hope you will explore the portal, ask questions, and reflect on how this tool can inform your work and elevate the important things we are doing for the Blue Pacific. Thank you very much. So it's my honor now to invite our keynote speaker, Ms. Tuya Altran-Grell.
Thank you so much, Zaytuna. Good morning, good afternoon, colleagues. It's a great pleasure to have you here with us today. And warm Pacific greetings on behalf of our Pacific office. As Zaytuna has mentioned already, these are not very easy times for us. We know that the global development architecture is very much being assessed on many fronts and also maybe questioned. But during these very interesting and of course challenging times, we very much value the symbolism, but also the real impact that partnerships have. So in this regard, firstly, let me acknowledge also the partnerships that we have with Griffith University, of course, with Reserve Bank of Fiji, our trusted partner with whom we developed wonderful financial and insurance products, as well as the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, It's really wonderful to see that these cross-regional collaborations are indeed happening. And I would like to extend my warm greetings to Mr. Anthony Brand from African Caribbean Pacific States, as well as Ms. Carolyn, and as well as Sean and many colleagues who are joining us online. The number of participants now have reached 101. And I don't want to say much in terms of the substance, because I know that substance will be covered in terms of our presentation, and also hopefully we will have a lively exchange. Already there's some panelists or participants raising hands, so let's make it as lively as possible. Let us learn from each other. Of course, the digital financial literacy frontiers are always expanding with each year, right? So in some cases, of course, based on the needs of our countries, we talk about some very basic financial literacy steps. Actually, the foundations are always the most important, because if you don't have that robust foundation that involves actually whole society, especially our young generations, and also intergenerationally, adults are also embarking on lifelong learning journeys in terms of also digital financial literacy. So really in the spirit of leaving no one behind, these foundational knowledge exchanges and knowledge investments into digital literacy is really, really important. Of course, in the Pacific, and I'm so glad that you have reached out to more than 10,000 respondents across the 7 countries. Zituna, you have mentioned that already. So one thing that I would like to really underline is that realities are very different, whether if you are living in Suva, say the capital city of Fiji, or in a maritime community in, say, Lao province. So many of our Pacific Island countries are maritime communities. One country may have over 300 islands, 900 islands spread over vast ocean spaces. And so having that inclusion is very, very important. Also, in terms of financial knowledge and financial digital literacy knowledge, we see that more and more small-scale vendors, especially in marketplaces, are using financial tools and having equipped with basic financial literacy knowledge and skill sets. And that really expands their business opportunities. It's of course a well-known fact. I don't have to say it, but let me say that from first-hand experience, I have seen the power of transformation. Last year alone, in 2024, there was the Women's Expo, which brought maritime communities together, and most of the vendors were using cash, right? And that's just because they have many still a lot of gaps remaining. However, this year, with concerted efforts of partners, including UNCDF, UN Women, Ministry of Women of Fiji, and other development partners, many vendors were using M-Pesa, but using the opportunity of having this Women's Expo, also private institutions such as ANZ and others, and our Market for Change program, we ran a number of digital literacy interventions right where women are, because sometimes they have much more difficulty to leave their homes, communities, and then be embarked in these type of learning journeys. So when we actually went to where they were, like in the expos, in the markets, and then bringing the knowledge and then hands-on training programs to them, that really made a huge difference. So I think this is where programs like Pacific Digital Economy Program, where we are working also with our sister agency, UNCTAD, and of course UNCDF, is really, really important to understand the considerations of reaching out to the last mile, but also embarking and looking at more flexible and more dynamic and hands-on learning journeys. because not everything has to be in a classroom setting, right? It can be also brought to the communities and then be much more mobile and dynamic. That's another consideration, and I really would love to hear from the panelists on how we are being responsive to the needs of our communities, and especially, of course, young people. Young people, of course, are the pioneer users of technology, but with that, we also would like to understand, we had weeks-long anti-scam programs here, advocacy programs, and that really helped us also to reach out to thousands of communities and young people, the elderly people, and the legislative frameworks that allow for much tighter regulatory control of scammers is scamming opportunities, or limiting the scamming opportunities online is very, very also important, as well as the digital literacy knowledge as well. So this is extremely important. So a lot of of course, they're all interrelated. So I'm not speaking just to the topic of the financial literacy part, but the whole of learning on how citizens learn to live and, of course, benefit from the technologies. Of course, in the financial, economic, but also in the social sphere, it's all very much interrelated. So that is one of the reasons why I was bringing other considerations and other topics as well. It would be really, I think the work, we have a big work cut out for us in the Pacific, and would love to continue working together with your colleagues to really harness the power of digital technologies for the concrete improvements of our livelihoods, and also while safeguarding ourselves in terms of digital data, privacy, but also online safety is becoming a primary concern for many of our Pacific colleagues. And I would like to end my statements by mentioning some very important event that has happened in Fiji. Just last week, we were able to welcome the technical committee of the Convention of Elimination of All Forms of Violence, against women. So CEDAW, also elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, CEDAW, and we know that we are very much still very much committed to the values of gender equality, and this was a stark reminder, by the way, because we were able to hear the testimonials from 3 countries: Fiji, Tuvalu, and Solomon Islands, and many of the committee members, as well as the governments and civil society organizations, do report a huge gap. So there is a huge inequalities and gaps in real world, but also the same applies to the digital world, right? So we need to really address this increasing gap, but also the gap in terms of increased protection of online safety, especially for our young people, both men, women, and all genders, in terms of diversity, but also looking at how can we harness but just empower people. So knowledge, the identity, the data, and also their accounts. This needs to be in the hands of the people themselves, so that they feel protected. Because within 1 second, somebody's reputation can be tarnished by unknown personalities and hackers and so on, right? So somebody also pretending to be you, using your facial images. So the technology is progressing so fast that, and while we don't have the regulatory sandboxes in place yet for the Pacific. So I would love to see how we can touch on these issues of digital safety, but also online data protection, even with facial recognition systems and advanced technologies like using fingerprints. that becomes even, it exposes us to greater vulnerabilities, as well as, of course, there is a number of opportunities as well. So again, would love to acknowledge the contributions and longstanding partnerships of governments of Australia, New Zealand, and the European Union that enable us to do this important work together with you, and also the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States. That is really, really important to acknowledge these cross-regional, cross-fertilization of knowledge, experience exchanges, as well as networks, because sometimes I think we feel alone, but actually we're not. We have a big networks that we can rely on, talk about, brainstorm about challenging ideas, and then also innovate continuously and embark on this continuous learning journey. So thank you so very much, Zituna and colleagues, for allowing me this space. So on behalf of UNDP and UNCDF, we are here to also listen and learn and support each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Tuya, for those remarkable keynote address. Yes, I think you've stressed many important things that we'll actually navigate during the demonstration session. Just one that I picked up around the underserved communities. There is actually a data point around people with disability, and where you can be able to navigate data point around who have digital services and so on. So without further ado, I invite Ms. Caroline Wagavada to give us remarks on behalf of central bank and reserve banks in the region.
Thank you, Zaytuna. So to the UNDP Res Rep, Ms. Muktoya Aljon Carroll, the UN team leader, inclusive growth, Mr. Patrick Tuimalifano, the expert MSMEs, Organization of African, Caribbean, Pacific States, Mr. Anthony Brand, our dear country coordinator, Zaytuna, and ladies and gentlemen, all the participants that are joining online, a very good afternoon to you all. It's indeed a privilege for us to be on this shared platform. But let me first thank, therefore, the UNDP and the UNCDF for this invitation to say a few words on this milestone event. The UNCDF for us is a key partner in our implementation of our financial inclusion strategies. So today's event serves to reinforce that partnership. So today is we are taking another important step towards financial inclusion and literacy in the Pacific as we launch the Digital Financial Literacy, or DFL, portal. In recent years, Fiji has witnessed a commendable improvement in financial inclusion. The level of access to bank accounts among the adult population has risen from 70.4% in 2018 to 86.5% in 2023. The gender gap, therefore, has narrowed in the same 5-year period from 14.3% to 9.4% in 2023, reflecting the increase in bank account openings by women as compared to men. And this progress underscores the strides that we have made in bringing more of our citizens into the formal financial system. However, as we delve deeper into the digital age, new challenges emerge. And I'm sure we can all agree with that. The rapid adoption of digital financial services, or DFS, has transformed the financial landscape, offering unprecedented opportunities for economic empowerment. Yet, this transformation is not without its hurdles. As mentioned before, a study by UNCDF in 2022 highlighted that while 66% of Fijians believe that services like mobile payments and digital wallets will soon replace cash, 60%, modest numbers, still perceive that these services are still risky for ordinary people. This dichotomy emphasizes the critical need for robust digital financial literacy to ensure that all Fijians can navigate this evolving landscape confidently and securely. Access to reliable data is foundational for informed decision-making. The DFL portal consolidates findings from the Digital Financial Literacy Baseline Survey conducted across 7 Pacific countries, as mentioned, including Fiji. And this portal serves as a centralized repository, offering stakeholders with valuable insights into the current state of digital financial literacy in our region. Specifically for central banks like us, this portal is more than just a data repository. It is an instrumental tool that will help inform policy development by understanding the nuances of digital financial literacy among our populace. So we can craft policies that address the specific gaps and promote inclusive growth. It will also enhance financial education programs. Tailored educational initiatives can be designed to target segments of our population that are most vulnerable or at risk of being left behind in the digital transition. Lastly, it will also help monitor and evaluate progress for us. The portal can potentially allow for continuous tracking of our interventions, ensuring that our strategies remain effective and responsive to changing dynamics. While the benefits of DFS are manifold, we must remain cognizant of the barriers that persist. The Consumer Council of Fiji's report in 2024, titled Voices from the Margins, sheds light on the challenges faced by vulnerable groups. Issues like unreliable network connectivity, high costs of technology, and limited digital literacy hinder their full participation in the digital financial ecosystem. As central banks, it's incumbent upon us to address these disparities, ensuring that the digital revolution is inclusive and equitable. The launch of the DFL portal epitomizes the power of collaboration. The Reserve Bank, among other central banks in the region, has been entrusted with this invaluable research. Our collective responsibility is to leverage this data to foster an environment where digital financial literacy thrives, and every citizen can partake in the benefits of a digitized financial system. To conclude, I acknowledge the Pacific Digital Economy Program, the DFS 4RES program, the Griffith Institute for bringing this portal to life. And a special acknowledgement, of course, goes to our expert MSME Organization of African, Caribbean, Pacific States, the governments of Australia, New Zealand, and the European Union for their support. Lastly, I'd like to thank UNDP and UNCDF for the continuous and close collaboration with us and the efforts to help uplift financial inclusion, not only in Fiji, but also in the region. Wenakawakalibu.
Thank you very much, Chief. Such inspiring words, I must say. I think without further ado, then we will invite Mr. Anthony Brand to give us a development partner perspective as we close the formalities and go into the interactive session of the webinar.
Ms. Moktuya Altengarel, Team Leader Inclusive Growth, Mr. Patrick Twimmalia Piano, Chief Manager Financial System Development, Ms. Caroline Wakabaka, Country Coordinator Fiji, Ms. Zituna Mustafa. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, good morning, good afternoon, Bula. On behalf of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, otherwise known as the OACPS, I extend my congratulations to the UNCDF, UNDP, Griffith University, and all partners involved in bringing this groundbreaking digital financial literacy portal to life. Today, we witness the power of collaboration, where innovation meets impact and data becomes a bridge towards equity across our Pacific member states. For 50 years, the OACPS has supported and advocated for the economic, social, political, human, and environmental sustainable development of our 79 member states. As enshrined in our strategic plan 2022 to 2025, the OACPS as a driver of inclusive sustainable development through robust multilateral cooperation. This DFL portal exemplifies this vision by aligning with 3 core pillars of our strategy. The first, strengthening intra-OACPS cooperation. This portal is more than a tool. It is a manifestation of our commitment to deepening collaboration. By harmonizing data from 7 Pacific countries spanning from Fiji to Timor-Leste, it creates a unified evidence base that supports our shared objective of enabling informed, evidence-based policy for sustainable development. Secondly, sustainable development. By directly addressing digital and financial exclusion, this platform accelerates our progress towards sustainable development goals. And in fact, our achievement of Sustainable Development Goal number 1, no poverty. In a region where 41% of adults lack access to formal financial services, the portal empowers governments to tailor responses such as mobile banking for women entrepreneurs or financial education for youth. This portal also disaggregates insights which will reinforce our gender and youth mainstreaming strategies. In doing so, it reflects our overarching mission to promote equitable integration into the global economy, ensuring that no one is left behind. Let me emphasize why this portal is a catalyst for change. Through its analytics, the portal unlocks opportunities for South-South cooperation, enabling financial service providers and fintech innovators to co-design affordable, inclusive solutions. This reinforces our private sector development programs, such as the ACP EU Financial Inclusion Initiative. And this initiative, this program which we're speaking about today, is just one of the 21 or so private sector development programs which we have ongoing as the OACPS. Programs that are funded under the 11th European Development Fund and which form part of the joint OACPS EU private sector development framework. Furthermore, by tracking literacy trends over time, we can ensure that the EU and the OACPS investments, such as the Pacific Digital Economy Program and the Digital Financial Solutions for ACP Resilience Program, yield measurable impact. I'd also like to continue by saying that we at the OACPS actively seek synergies across our programs. And this was one of the reasons why just recently we were able to invite a startup from the Pacific region to participate in the Startup Expo, the Startup Makum Expo, which was held in Delhi, India, between April 3rd and 5th of this year. To our valued partners, we now call on you to work with us to maximize the impact of this platform. We can begin by embedding digital financial literacy into national education programs, drawing on our shared commitment under SDG 4. Engage with the OACPS Business Forum to design inclusive financial solutions that truly serve the unbanked and underserved. And through continued collaboration and partnership, let us replicate and scale successful models across other small island developing states, ensuring that no one is left behind. Before I conclude, I would like to mention that indeed, as mentioned earlier by Zaytouna, this program has not started today. This is a result of many years of activity, which actually, from my own personal point of view, started back in 2019 when the Digital Financial Solution for ACP Resilience Program visited Fiji as part of, a fact-finding mission a roadshow where we actually went out for the first time and showcased the different programs that we would be implementing over the next 6 or 7 years as part of the PSD framework. So I would like to conclude by acknowledging our important partners, the UN Development Program, UNDP, UN Capital Development Program Fund, the UNCDF, our partners at the European Union, Australia and New Zealand, Griffith Asia Institute, and the Tibet Research Institute. Let's hope that today's portal demonstration will be a very successful one, and help us to collaborate more in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anthony, for those remarks. Great to hear that also fintechs were able to be going to India to showcase and learn from also other jurisdictions. With that, I will like to hand over the second part of this webinar to my colleague, Sean Hunter from Griffith Asia Institute, who will moderate and also invite his data team to actually showcase the portal. What we will do is also share the the portal's link right away into the chat so that it can be an interactive tool that you can start seeing as the presentation is going on. So we have to be digital as well. So that's sort of our way to say that the portal is live. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Zaituna. Yeah, so look, without any further ado, I'll go ahead and introduce my colleague, Jessica Chen, who's a data linkage analyst with the Relational Insights Data Lab at Griffith University. And Jessica will be walking us through the data portal today and giving us the demonstration. So over to you, Jessica.
Hello, and thank you for the introduction, Sean. So my name is Jessica, and today I have the honor of introducing and showcasing the Digital Financial Literacy Survey portal. So I can go ahead and paste the link in the chat. So if anyone wants to follow along with me or just simply watch my demonstration, feel free to do whatever suits you. So that should be in the chat. And I will also, before I dive in, I also want to take a moment to thank Sean and Zaituna for all your work behind the scenes, getting this all together. As we can probably all agree that it has been a long journey getting to this point. And also the UN country coordinators, the participants from our first webinar. We've really taken co-design as our main focus here in designing this portal. So collaborating and gathering all this feedback along with the wider team at the Relational Insights Data Lab here at Griffith. So without further ado, let me share my screen and let's go through this together.
While Jessica's getting her screen up, I just wanted to let everybody know that if you have any questions about the portal, please feel free to use the Q&A function within the webinar and post your questions there. And then at the end of with the last couple of minutes, we'll try to answer as many of those as we can. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sean. So first of all, when you come over to the page here from the link that we pasted in chat, you'll see down here that there's a link to the dashboard, and that's where you access it. When you click this, it'll bring you to the main page. And you'll see right off the bat that the structure kind of mirrors the reports that many of you are familiar with. So starting off with the demographics, then into the digital literacy and financial literacy tabs. And we've also designed the portal for a wide range of audiences. We understand that there might be people who are from the central banks who have collaborated on the survey and they understand and are quite familiar with the data, all the way to maybe academics who are really interested in the data set but might not know too much about it. So we've designed it for both those users. And we've got a simple tutorial here. If you click the question mark button, it will just take you through, and a quick reminder that it is an interactive portal. So click with it, interact with it, right click. There are many functions with it for you to drill down and get into the data, or if you're simply here to just have a quick look and get an overview. So for example, for those who are interested in even further breakdowns, you are able to view it by further breakdown here. For those more complex and super users, we call them. It's also important to know that if you right click, you can see view it as a table. As throughout our co-design session, one of our consultants in the Pacific region suggested that this was an important feature to include. We've got a couple of links here as well to the national financial inclusion strategies, as our country coordinators from the UN have also mentioned that the KPIs in there are closely linked to the data in this portal. And so it's quite useful to have this linked here. And it's also important to note that this portal does complement the other outputs from the Griffith Asia Institute, which we might mention a bit later, and also the reports, which you can find here. So all the subheadings are all designed there to help you navigate the reports there and find the information easier, as well as understand how the scores might be calculated. I might just go through and just start with an example scenario to get us started. So let's say you're interested in understanding the ownership of digital devices in Tonga amongst females, because they're traditionally the underserved population. So you would click to the digital literacy tab, which would bring you here. Then you look at the digital devices tab. You can also click the slicer panel down here to filter the data. And you'll notice that all of these visuals have been designed in a way to compare across countries, which was an important part that was discussed in our co-design process. So that's why it's all laid out this way. And then you can we'll click Tonga, and then we'll select by gender for females. Then you'll be able to see over here quite quickly that 44% of people of females in Tonga have access to a mobile that is only for calls and text. And then you can filter it for different digital devices and compare across there, or compare to a different country as well. So that's the first example. Let's go ahead and clear all our slices and start from the default view. We'll also look at another interesting data point, which is the access to internet. Let's say you're looking at Fiji, and again, looking at women in particular and their access to internet. And then what limits their internet access. And then also we've got this here that shows access to frequency of internet use. So you can right click on this to show next level, because we know that there are people who are interested in the daily breakdown, but this will show you overall. And then the next level, it will show you the deep breakdown for, so once a day, several times a day, for those who are really interested in that sort of data. But overall, it will show you this, and you'll notice that this is quite different to the rest of the visuals here, so that we're not missing the percentages there. They're still here, as if you hover over it, you'll see that percentage as total. So in case you do like the percentages there, it's also calculated in here for this visual in particular. I'll also go into another example. So we've got people who are interested in disabilities and also in the rural population. So maybe I'll go over to the financial literacy tab and have a look here. So right now it's filtered as highlighted by the blue icon. So now we'll go ahead and clear it, and we'll have a look at the rural population. So if you want to look at their access to financial services and what payments they're using, you can filter it by the rural population and compare across the countries there. Then you can also, as mentioned by Zaituna earlier, the portal does have a slicer for disability status. So those with disabilities, you're able to filter and view the data there that way. And again, you can view the data and right click and view it as a table. And finally, just want to mention before I wrap up here that we are aware of a couple of minor issues and fixes that we're still planning to update as well. So including the mentions to the donors and also a updated email specifically for this project for those who are interested in accessing the full anonymized data set, and also just updating and refining the links and the text here. But after that, the portal is essentially complete and ready for everybody to access and use. And hopefully this helps you and supports your work in your digital financial literacy and uplifting it in the region or wherever you are in the world and working across these important projects. So I might just leave it there for now. I know there have been quite a few questions that have popped up in the chat. So I think the next session after this is for people to have a play around with it and interact with it. And I might stop sharing now and have a look at the questions in chat and answer any of them there. And I encourage you to ask questions as well.
Right. Thank you very much, Jessica. Yeah, so like you said, I think we'll give everybody a few minutes to explore the portal themselves. If those of you haven't seen it, the link is in the chat. And if anyone has any questions, please paste them into the Q&A component of the webinar, and we'll be happy to do our best to answer those.
And perhaps they can also raise their hands and we will be happy to unmute.
Oh, okay, sure. I see Shuba Banu has raised a hand. Just see, are we able to unmute?
I just wanted to thank you so much first for the this presentation, extremely helpful. Just wanted to ask one question. Would these data points be updated also at a certain timeline or certain frequency? Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I think Zaituna, is there plans for additional surveys that would be used to update this in the future?
Thank you. I think the question is a great one. The earlier plan was to update this baseline survey by doing subsequent surveys every 2 years or so. We are deliberating on those and seeing how those can best be accommodated. So we can keep you posted, but that was the original plan.
Thank you.
And I see we have another question from Yolanda. Just checking. Are we able to unmute Yolanda Usario?
We're not able to see Yolanda's name. I think perhaps, yeah. Yeah.
But she's muted herself.
Yeah, Yolanda, you can unmute yourself. We unmuted you, but yeah, it looks like. Can you unmute her?
We've given her permission to talk, but she needs to unmute her computer.
Yeah, Yolanda, you can unmute yourself. We've given you permission to speak. Looks like Yolanda, your internet might not be okay. I'm not able to, none of us can be able to see you unmuted. Anyone else? We'll just check some few questions. There is a question.
Yeah, just in the chat.
Yes, this is from Joanne. Yeah, I think we've already captured those.
Zaytuna, this is, I don't have a question, but just a comment. I think from my initial reaction of the portal is it's quite user friendly. So I commend the team that has worked on this, Sean, and the team, Jessica.
Yeah.
So it looks very user friendly. Just from my initially browsing through the few links there, and in this working in this area of financial inclusion, there's a lot of platforms where we come together as peers, and we share a lot of information. This I see as a way of encouraging even peer learning, because almost every chart or all the charts comparing us to our regional peers. So we're able to see, for example, where PNG might be ahead of Fiji, so that gives us a basis to ask, what are you doing differently? What kind of initiatives have you undertaken to have improved your ratio? To have a much higher ratio. So that's what I can see. This us taking advantage of this portal for. So, great initiative, UNCDF and Griffith. I think it's a good start. That was a good question, which I had in mind as well, was, 2 years down the line, it would be good to see how the trends have changed. Or how we have moved. So that's something to look forward to. But as it is now, I see it very useful. Everything, in one place. So one-stop shop. And it's got, I think, a lot of information that we can utilize already. So, thank you for that.
Absolutely. And I think Jessica can come in from the data point side, whereby you can do the comparison. But that was the essence as well, also to do this peer learning, because as a digital public good, it's also supposed to help us, cross-learn across the Blue Pacific and ensure that each of the implementing agencies in the countries can be able to do that. So, yeah. And I think in terms of updating it, because it is it's a platform that can be these data points can be updated. The only thing, the reason why it's being hosted on UNDP is because it has multiple countries, and we didn't know where do we put it, which agency. That was the only interesting thing, but definitely. And I think once even some of our national partners, if they do ask, we can see how this link can sit somewhere on their website, somewhere within the National Financial Inclusion Strategy website and so on. So those are maybe subsequent discussions that can start happening to ensure that it is actually used for the intended purpose, which is you. But Jessica, do you think we can actually run like tests of two countries and in different data points?
Sure. While people are entering their questions and thinking about their comments, and also maybe in the background playing with the different filters available on the data portal, I might go ahead and share again my screen and do an example of comparing the countries like we mentioned there, and that Carolyn mentioned. So I'll go ahead and do that now. So as we were talking just then, we were talking about the comparison between Fiji and maybe the peers in PNG. So you could probably look at the either digital literacy or maybe even that I felt like when
Maybe
I was working
financial
with this.
literacy. Perhaps
Yes,
financial literacy
financial.
will be interesting and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so maybe looking at people who have what payment services they use or they have. So I thought that cryptocurrency was an interesting thing to include. Also, any insurance policies as well as a digital wallet, which was important for so people who are using mobile money, that sort of thing. We've also looked at I think briefly, Toya mentioned before she left, was also the ability to keep themselves safe on the internet. So I thought that these data points are quite interesting. Also note that you can hover over to view the full selection before you click on it as well. So that's an important part to keep in mind there. You can also so have a look at those who keep a record.
Jessica, do you want to just do maybe PNG and Fiji we see with those maybe 2 data points, the digital wallet and maybe something else around financial management, for example?
Sure. So now you can see that we've just filtered specifically for Fiji and PNG to compare the 2 countries specifically. And then you can look at how you're doing compared to PNG and their peers. And then you can also have a look at what budgeting and savings behaviors these survey respondents have reported using. So these are quite interesting to look at, that you can know that they're quite similar across the 2 countries. Or do survey respondents save and invest for the long term? Yes, quite similar again there. Do they put aside money for emergencies? And also maybe look over here. This is another thing that you can drill down on the data for. So we've combined some of the categories here, since there are quite a few that were collected in the survey. So for example, paying groceries, as I think mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, cash is quite frequently used still in these countries. So you can see that there. And compare the percentages are also still there, as this is a different visual that shows the raw numbers. But if you're still interested in seeing the percentages, that's still here. You can also drill down and view the specific payments that were grouped up into these categories for those super users who are interested in seeing the specific breakdown of what does it mean by another form of payment. So for those who are interested there, that's also a feature there. And then you can see that Fiji and, so I might have clicked on PNG there. So that's another thing, is that if you, if I go back to the summary, I can show you this feature. So if you click on a specific country, let's say with Timor-Leste, we can see that highlights there. So that's what happened over on the financial literacy page, that it was all filtered specifically to show PNG because I selected something, I selected a specific data point and that highlighted it there. So you can always go through and clear your filters if you, like me just then, wasn't sure what I was really deep in the data and I'm not sure where I was. You can also clear it again and start from the default view. So I will do that here. Great. Were there any other questions that popped up in the chat while I was presenting there? I might have a look. So
yeah, it looks like so far there is just one more question, I think, from Joanne. She talks about there is a data using an earlier face-to-face instrument for Fiji, South Africa, Indonesia, and Solomon Islands that we would like to make more accessible via the portal in some way, but it's not the same service. So lots of questions still about the best way to do it. Our aim more generally is to see individual level measurement of multidimensional poverty as a standard option widely used. Great. So in that sense, we are anticipating adding data from other countries. We do not currently have additional surveys funded, but always interested to engage governments and development partners to undertake the equality survey. So for ACPS, we are currently working with the Dominican and Belize on some related work. Okay, Joanne, well noted. It's great to see that there are also like-minded organizations like yourselves that are doing great things beyond Pacific as well. So interesting to learn that. Maybe Jessica, who works across the OACPS countries, and she's our DFL expert, can follow up now that we see your email here. Thank you. Jessica, you can note that.
Okay, so I don't see any additional questions. Just do one last check, see if there's any hands raised. No. So I think we can probably wrap it up then. So hopefully everybody has been able to access the link, spend some time playing with it. Of course, we're always open to additional discussions. If anybody has any questions, always happy to hear from you. And hope that this, as I mentioned earlier, that the resource becomes just as valuable to us as it hopefully can be for everybody else as well. Just maybe I'll hand back over to you, Zaituna, if there's any closing words you'd like to say before we wrap up.
Not really, but for me, I think we've dropped the email whereby you can write to us if you have questions regarding the survey, and this was dropped on the chat by my colleague Jessica. So it is dfl.survey@uncdf.org. I think many of the comments that are still streaming in is more to say that this is a great dashboard. So kudos to the team at Griffith Asia Institute, the data team. Thank you to our colleagues behind the scenes. We have our comms team here seated in the room with me. When my internet broke, I'm sure you saw that instead of Zaituna, I was speaking as Marie. So thanks to you for me to clone you today and speak. And to my other colleague who's in the room called Yashna, Sheldon, who's joining from home as our backup. Other colleagues in the room, our country coordinators, Tebut Research, I can see Kaz in the room. Thank you so much. We started from far and here we are today. So it is surreal to see that we were able to actually showcase and demo the portal and use it as for the greater things of the Pacific. So I think with those few remarks, we say thank you and good evening, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you're joining us.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Zaituna. Bye-bye.
Bye.